this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with another make using my Lavinia stamps. I thought before it's the end of the month I come in and make another creation with a new collection, and that allows me to enter the Dreamatorium challenge. I'm going to link to it below if I post this whilst this is still on. And this has got special conditions because you're only allowed to use the stamps from the new collection. Lavinia Stamps do run a separate one every month, just a creative challenge where you can use any stamp, any stencil from Lavinia Stamps. So, and for today I would like to use mainly the bookshelf, it's called. When I saw these, I immediately thought of IKEA and how difficult it sometimes can be to put up a bookshelf. So I thought I could use these little mice here, the new ones, they're called Double Trouble. And if I mask off the light bulbs or don't ink up the stamp, then these can maybe put the shelves up. And I've also got the medium-sized books here. They are called Book of Lost Words, and I could sort of arrange these on the shelves. For the size, I have decided to create a DL card because I thought then I've got possibilities to put a lot of shelves on here. This is cut a little bit wider and a little bit taller than I want it to be. This is, at the moment, it's 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. I will cut this down at least 1/4 in height and in width. And for the background, I thought I'm going to bring out my rather neglected Brushos. These are pigment powders. They're not as vibrant as the Dinkles, but they are still very nice. And I've got some swatches here. This is when you use them with water and a brush, and this is when you have them basically as an exploding powder. And I thought I mainly will use the yellow, but I want to come in a little bit with a grey because I quite like the look and all the different colours in them. So there are two ways of doing this. You can either apply the powder and then add water, but because that usually when I spray the water, it sprays the powder all over my desk. This time I'm going to apply the water first and then put over the pigment powder. So I've just got a spray bottle here. It usually is quite good and just creates a mist. So I'm misting that all over. And as I said, then I'm coming in with the powder. So I've poked a little hole here at the top. And then I can just dab it. And there you can immediately see how the powders explode on the paper. There's obviously some warping. There will be some colour collecting on the edges, but I'm fine with that. And if I find I need a little bit more water, like here, I can then add that carefully. But I really just want a mist here. So maybe need a little bit at the top. I've got some scrap paper underneath to collect any water or powders, and this is quite, it warps quite a bit now, so I'll have to be a bit mindful when I add the grey now. But I love when you work with Brushos or Dinkles that you sort of can't control it, but I mean the colours are just amazing. What I can do is find something to weigh this down a little bit. Just having a look what I've got. I've got bone folder. I hope it won't stain. Just pop it there maybe. Yeah, that will control it. I will leave this now to dry. I don't want to do anything to it. I want to keep it as it is. It's quite dark here, but I just love the speckles to it. I think it's absolutely amazing. So as I said, I'll leave this to dry. You can use your heat tool on it, but then I would be moving about the colour a little bit, and I don't want that. I don't mind the white bits here. What I might do afterwards is add a little bit of ink blending over that, or I could just off camera add a little bit more water, a little bit more powder, but at the moment I'm going to leave it as it is. My panel has dried for about half an hour. It's still a little bit damp, but it's okay for stamping on. And the advantage of not using a heat tool is that it will actually more or less dry flat. I think this is much better. I have used a tissue paper and rubbed all over it just to get rid of some excess powder that might have sat on the top, and there was quite a bit, but I really like the look of that. I've already cut it down as well to just under 4 inches by 8 inches to go on a 4x8 DL card. So, and I already had a little play with my stamps here. So my idea was to start at the bottom, have a bookshelf with some books, and then one mouse to stand on top of it, trying to sort of hold the second shelf, and maybe have this one here, because it helps from the top, sit on a shelf here on the side, trying to hold the other shelf in place. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm just going to, as I always do, I'm just going to go for it and have a play with these. So I've already mislaid one shelf. There it is. I thought I need a longer stamp block, but I think this is fine. So I'm going to do this all in the black onyx VersaFine Clair. As these are new ones, I'm inking them up thoroughly. You could stamp them off once. I usually find with Lavinia stamps there is no residue from production on them, so you don't really need to do anything to these. So, and I'm going for the black because I've got the grain here. Otherwise, the brown would be quite nice, the pine cone. So I don't think I need any space for a sentiment. If I do, I could always put it on the top. But I quite like cards actually that don't have a sentiment on the front and that just tell a story. So I'm leaving this to sit for a moment, especially as I've already got ink down there. So I want this to sit on the paper a little bit longer. So I probably have to come in, let me just show you, zoom in a little bit, and come in with some colour to make it a little bit more solid, because obviously I've got the specks from the Brushos coming through there, and that same will be with the books, but I'm fine with that. What I haven't planned is maybe to mask a little bit off where the books are sitting, but I think the way these books are designed, I think it won't show too much. Still got other stamps here on my stamp blocks. This is what I'm like at the moment, because I'm always crafting in between doing all my other little jobs, that I don't really put the stamps away. I've got a pile, you can't see that, I've got a pile of stamps that are waiting to be cleaned. I'm sure I made this my New Year's resolution last year to clean them straight away, but I don't always do that. So I'm placing the books so that they are on this line here, not at the back, but touching the front rather. Yeah, again, getting a little bit lost in the back, but as I said, I'm not worried about that because I will colour them in afterwards. So then we need the little mouse. So, and with this one, I now need to be mindful not to ink up the light bulb there and the string of the light bulb. So I think what I will do is just take some scrap paper and I will mask that off a little bit. I think I'm masking the whole lot off, and then I'm coming back in to ink up the hand. So I'm just having a look here. I've just torn this rather randomly, but I think it'll be fine. So let me just zoom in to see, for you to see what I've been doing. So I'm just covering where I don't want any ink. This might not work because this is a bit, let me get some tape out, sorry about that. I've got my removable Scotch tape here, that's a low-tech tape, that'll be much better. I know it's not in a curve, but I can cut it into a smaller piece and then maybe go around, or I could cut a curve into it. I think this might be better. As you can tell, I haven't really planned this. So what the tape allows me to do is just sort of bend it round there. So that makes it actually easier to mask off where I don't want any ink. If I have to add a little bit on the paw later, that's fine. You can always come in with a black pen, so I'm just really making sure I don't have any bit of the light bulb there. But I have just covered his little paw, so I need to cut that off there. There we go. So I'm inking this up now. Again, because it's a solid stamp, I need plenty of ink. So, and then before I'm stamping this, I need to remove the tape. So, and if I find I've got a little bit too much there, I've got a little line there, I can always come in with a little brush or so and just take the ink off there. I hope I didn't go off camera there. So he will definitely be sitting on top of the books there, or standing I should say, which is a bit difficult to see. I think I've got him there. So, and definitely take your time to rest the stamp on your paper. I'm working on my usual UK Crafts Limited 300 GSM. That's linked in the description box. I really like it. It's got a smooth finish. It can hold quite a bit of water, and it's not too expensive. So as you can see here now, maybe the camera doesn't pick it up, it's quite speckled. Yeah, that's okay by me because I can easily remedy that. Let me just zoom in. And I quite often get that with solid stamps, and it's probably down to the powder as well. So I'm just using a brush, just going onto my ink pad here, and I'm just colouring his tummy in. I think there might be some residue on this brush, like some glue. A little bit on the top here as well. And by using the same ink, it won't show up afterwards. Because if you use a pen, like a fine liner pen, that might come up a little bit glossy. So I'm okay with that now. Just coming up close, or you are close. There we go. So let me zoom out before I forget. So as I said, now I need to have a little play. Oh, by the way, my little tape here, I'm going to put that straight in the bin now, because that'll just end up on my fingers and on the project. So I thought, as I said, that the other mouse would be holding a shelf, so you can use your acetate, and then I can stamp the little shelf there afterwards. And then I thought this one here, maybe I'll even use a shorter one, and that can sort of sit at an angle, and I will be doing that. So have a play with your stamps, whichever stamps you bought. Even if you don't have the latest collection, have a play with your stamps, get them out. I sometimes find I buy stamps and I really want to use them, and then I don't. For some reason, I don't have the time or so. And, you know, I think with craft has got a tendency to hoard things without using them. That's why today I thought, oh, do it now. Cat's asleep, husband's out of the house, and I've got a little bit of time to craft in between my chores and jobs. So the only thing I need to make sure now is that I'm touching that paw more or less, and maybe see what angle I want. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe applied a little bit too much pressure there, but once I've coloured in, I think it will be fine. So then the other mouse, where are we? So same thing. I will only be inking up the mouse itself, not the light bulb and the string. I think this one's a bit easier because it's not curved. So I think I will be losing a little bit from the paw, and I'd rather, I think, colour that in with, you know, use a fine liner for that. But if you want to take your time, you can cut your tape to shape and make it fit properly. So now I need to make sure that the paw touches that shelf, and at least in some place, so that it looks like it's helping to set it up. If I overlap it a little bit with the shelf, you can't even see that I cut the paw off a little bit. And it's sitting right on the edge, but that's okay. This is why I've already cut the panel to size, so I knew that at least the bottom shelf would be in the middle. Yeah, again, this is a little bit speckled. I will be colouring that in off camera. I will also put a little bookshelf here from the side, I think, for this mouse to sit on. And then I think I do this off camera as well. I think I will just have another bookshelf at the top here with some more of the books. As I said, I quickly do this off camera, and then I'll show you how I colour these in. Well, I haven't done that in a while, but just when you think, oh, it's going so well, it's really good, you drop your stamp onto the image. And I usually am quite good with rescuing it, but there's no way I can rescue that. I can't make that part of an image. So I reckon I'll have to start all over again. But you've seen the techniques, and I think I will just recreate this off camera. But I will just show you on this piece how I will colour these stamps or these images in. Obviously you can take any sort of medium to colour these in, but I like to use my Kuretake pens. First of all, they're very vibrant, so they will show up, but also because they're water reactive and the brushes are water reactive, I'm hoping that they sort of blend in the colours a little bit. So I would just go over this. Oh, you don't need to do any shading with these. So this is just an orange, so I would pick up colours from the background. And for the shelf, I've picked, sorry, this is bright yellow, it's actually called, and this one's just beige, so this is the one I would choose for the shelf, just to make it a little bit more, well, cohesive and a little bit more solid. And you can see how instantly this shelf comes to life. So you could obviously use some contrasting colours if you wanted to, but I would just, as I said, pick up some of the colours in the background. I do fancy a little bit of a turquoise blue in there, but this is how easy it is. So, as I said, I'll stop filming now, and I'll just come back with my second version of this card. Here's my almost finished card. I haven't stuck it down yet, and I haven't cut the extra card down yet because I've got rather mucky fingers here from cleaning my stamps. By the way, I think these stamps have picked up some of the yellow Brusho, and that is the Brusho that, I don't know if you can see that here, has stained the stamps a little bit. That doesn't affect their function at all, but just in case you're wondering if you use the same technique or the same medium, why sometimes the stamps stain a little bit. I've only wiped them with a cleaner I made myself. Somebody at the Lavinia Stamps Dreamatorium open day recommended looking at Heidi the Yorkshire Crafter, and she's got a homemade stamp cleaner on there. I didn't have all the ingredients, so all I did was used some glycerin. She used rose water. I just used a few drops of an essential oil in there, and then she said baby shampoo. I just used a normal shampoo, which is fairly free of sort of silicons and everything, and then just some water. I only made it last night. It's the first time using it. I tested it a little bit before I sort of recommend it, but it's one way of me sort of cleaning my stamps straight away, then rather than piling them on and taking them to the bathroom to be cleaned. But as I said, fingers are a little bit mucky. So I basically did the same stamping as before. I added the books here at the bookshelf. I added the single book there. These are the same books as down here, and I then coloured it in with various Kuretake pens. I did go over that with a gold acrylic pen, but it actually does look a little bit silver, but it's one of my Artistro ones. And I used the blue Artistro to give the mice some eyes. Look a bit spooky, but that's okay. The only thing I think is not perfect about it is the dark Brushos here obviously show up on the books. If you don't like that effect, you can mask these areas beforehand. What you do is you stamp these the books onto just some copy paper, cut them out, place them where you want to. Oh, but no, you can actually stamp them first, place the mask on there, and then use the Brushos over that. But to be honest, the Brushos aren't the best medium for that, I think. But you could work with a gel plate and some Brushos, loads of possibilities there. Or just avoid darker colours if you don't sort of like that look. I don't mind it. I think, I think it's nice as it is. And yeah. Or you could come in with some acrylic pens or some, some white pastel pens if you don't like the look of that. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I think it's cute. And it looks like the mice are either, probably because they're naughty mice actually, maybe actually taking the shelf down rather than putting it up. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is really cute. Yeah, and if you think so too, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.